Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of KigerCraft. I'm KigerCraft, and I'm here with Giren, as always. And today, we are somewhere in a wooded area, and we are going to go on a little caving adventure. So, it's been a while, and, well, I like caving, and also, this is sort of embarrassing, but I wasted about 3 diamond blocks trying to make armor, because if you guys remember, on the live stream, I sort of bit the dust, and I died, and it was rather embarrassing, and I lost all my stuff, and as I was making new armor, I kept making the same pieces that I didn't need over and over and over again. So I seriously wasted like a diamond block or two, just trying to make, you know, this plain armor to get myself here. But yeah, so we're going caving. So if you don't like it, you can bite me. Caving's fun. I enjoy caving very much. Probably because it was one of the things that actually scared the living daylights out of me when I first started playing. Going into caves and potentially fighting monsters was, you know what? Get out of here. Was a pretty scary proposition. Because quite honestly, I used to suck at this game. I do not suck any longer. So thankfully, there's not that to worry about. But yeah, so we're just gonna take it easy. Have some fun. Get some goodies. Hopefully find some cool stuff. I want to find like a couple dungeons. I usually have luck with those. But a couple things to talk about today, as usual. First thing is some cool tech news. You guys have heard me talk about different things like electric cars, cell phones, and all sorts of different stuff. And one of the things that I've always said when talking about these things, oh please don't let this be the end of the cave, that would suck, is that these technologies are severely limited by our lack of power storage. So batteries are pretty damn terrible. They don't hold a lot of power. They take quite a while to charge up, and they don't last for very long, especially with the sort of power-hungry stuff that we have these days, especially, cars and that sort of stuff. So we can't run them on solar, because solar doesn't take in enough energy to run something like that. Actually, I'm going to switch this out for this iron thingy here. So next coal vein I find, I need to make some more torches, because I didn't have a whole bunch on me when I started. So power is a big issue. We really need better power sources. And I was reading Slashdot, and apparently, Garen's been through here already. Apparently there's this company in Israel who has supposedly developed a metal air, is that what it is? Metal air? Yeah, metal air battery that can run an electric car for over 1,000 miles, or 1,600 kilometers for our European friends. Which is an incredible jump. The current electric car batteries, and we're talking pure electric cars, not hybrids or like the Volt or anything like that, is about 70 miles at the most, when your average tank of gas will get you in the US about 300 or so miles. Having a electric car is not going to help you out unless you live very close to where you're going to be working or what have you. So it's sort of like one of those things where it doesn't really make a lot of sense for most people. So it's not something that caught on. But this battery is supposedly going to be a lot better. It can do a lot more range, and it only has to be recharged with water every couple hundred miles. So probably, I don't really know the technical details of it because I didn't have time to read the article. But I like what I'm hearing. I mean, this is something that we really need, but I also have reservations. Whenever there's something that uses water as a catalyst, I get very nervous. I don't really think... Oh, this is the part that I was already in. I don't really think that we should really be using batteries with water catalysts as much. We can also get electricity from electrolysis, where you break apart the bonds between water atoms, and that generates electricity. Pretty much to do that, all you do is apply a current to water, and it separates it into oxygen and hydrogen. So that is something that we can also do, and we have done in the past. But I worry. The world does not have an unlimited supply of fresh water, and typically with those sorts of things, it has to be fresh. Hey, zombie! Rude. Very rude. Typically, they have to be fresh water, because if there's any impurities in the water, it's going to mess everything up. So it's sort of concerning. I hope that it doesn't need fresh water to work, because that would be awesome, because then we could use things like wastewater. I don't know how it is for anyone who lives outside of the U.S., but here in the U.S., what we have is we have water reprocessing plants. So it pretty much takes wastewater, which is like water from your toilet that's been used, and we recycle it and clean it for... it's not potable water, so you can't drink it, but we use it to water things like grass and mainly grass. But if we could use non-potable water like that, that would be really cool. That would mean that we could use this, source of water that we're already pretty much wasting and give it a second life as something far more useful. And it also depends on what the byproducts are. Like, it could actually be really good if it produced clean, potable water, and actually would probably revolutionize a lot of the world. But I highly doubt that is something that it would do. In fact, it might even create dirty water, which would be an absolute terrible, terrible thing. So it's sort of like interesting to hear about these sort of things, and I'm glad that people are working on it, but I need to know more. But still, something very interesting, and I'm glad that it's something that somebody is at least looking into. Geez. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have seen the documentary Who Killed the Electric Car. I highly recommend it. It's a good documentary. It's a good film, and it'll depress the shit out of you. It's basically the story about the General Motors GM EV1, which was a car that they had in like the late 1990s, I think, early 2000s. That was an electric car. It was sort of the predecessor to the Prius, and it was before anybody thought that an electric car was a viable alternative to a gasoline engine. So they were GM was working on developing this car, and they realized that one of the things that was the problem was the batteries. Even back then, they were using lead acid batteries, which are extremely heavy and don't produce a lot of electricity. So there were a lot of people who were trying to work on a new battery, and there was one guy who came up with a fantastic battery. His company was promptly bought by Texaco Corporation, which produces oil or gasoline in the U.S., and they bought up his company against his will because it was publicly traded, and they shelved his project. And so the the battery that would make electric cars viable is sitting on a shelf somewhere in Texaco Corporation's dark room somewhere. So yay, corporatism. And that's happened before with gas-saving technology that's been bought up and shelved. And a couple years ago, there was sort of like this trend where there was a quote-unquote new feature for some cars where if you had a big motor like a V8, if you had a big motor like a V8, it would only run on, like 4 cylinders while it was on like a city street or something like that, when you didn't need to have all 8 cylinders running. And they were like, oh, for 2006, shuts off half its engine if you don't need it. And, saves gas. Except what they didn't tell us was that the technology had been around, or was originally developed in 1972. So it has been around for a while, but it lowered gas consumption, which the gas companies didn't like. So naturally, they shelved it, just like they did with the good battery. And we didn't hear about it until it was too late. So, yeah, it's kind of a pattern. I mean, I didn't really mean to go on to ooh, it's a nice ravine. All right, this turned out to be pretty good. I didn't mean to go off on a rant about that, but it's something I care about. I would really like to see alternative fuel cars do well. I would love to see gasoline stations become a thing of the past. I'd love to tell people in the future, oh yeah, I remember when I used to have to stop and gas up at a gas station. You remember that? And people go like, gas? Like, yeah, cars used to have it. And I'm like, oh, that's so old. And I'm like, yeah, that's how we roll. Old school. But yeah, so anyways, I am weird. You people should know this by now, that I am weird. I want to go through this ravine. There's a lot of lava around here. Alright, let's go. Wee! Alright, let's get this iron and stuff. Alright, so let's see. What other thing I had? Another thing. Oh, yeah. Do you? Oh, there you are. This is the bear. There was a news update on something that I actually care about very much more than the environment, which is hard to believe, and that is computer security and laws regarding it. Some of you who don't live in the US might not be familiar, but during the 1980s, there was a law passed by the United States Congress called the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, CFAA for short, which is probably by far one of the worst laws written in the last 30 years in this country. Basically, it makes doing anything with a computer that you don't have permission for a felony, which is bad, very bad. So it's been the downfall of a lot of people who tried to do good, like disclose and exploit that would potentially harm users, and even though they were trying to be a good guy, they got punished for it. It has very rarely put away bad guys, but it's put away more good guys than bad guys. So it sucks. It sucks gigantic donkey balls. But I was reading that it's up for modification in mid-April, because it's like the technology focus week for Congress. So they're like, actually might freaking do something. But the problem is that we're having the same problem that we had last time. We had a bunch of people writing a law for a thing that they know jack shit about. So even though the problems with the current CFAA are widely known, they are actually planning on making it worse. There is currently a provision that's moving through the bill that will make violating terms of service a felony offense. Okay? So let me point this out, okay? So if you go to a website, you know how they say if you're under the age of like 13, you shouldn't access this website? If you access that website, you will be a criminal. The same type as if you robbed a bank. So pretty much breaking a terms of service is a gigantic crime, which is absolutely a terrible thing because sometimes those terms of service are completely unreasonable and have provisions on them that are anti-consumer and just stupid. Like there one website was actually trying to point out how ridiculous terms of service and user licensing agreements for websites were that they put in a provision that said that if you access this website, we own your soul. And under this agreement, that would be legally binding. So they would literally own your soul. And if you didn't let them own your soul, that would be a felony. Like, I'm not even joking. Now, obviously, I don't really think that would happen because that's a little ridiculous. But there's been some pretty ridiculous things written into websites' TOSs in the past. And there have been some problems with that. So it's definitely something that I'm going to be keeping my eye on. Because, like I said, the one that we have now is pretty friggin' bad, and it seems like they're going to make it worse. So hopefully this whole thing will just blow over and they'll end up doing nothing about it and nothing will change like happens most of the time. But if they do actually end up doing something about it, they actually may make our lives worse. So I am not optimistic about that. Oh no, gold! There we go, got it. But yeah, so that one was a little bit of a downer. Now let's get this cool here. But I think it's important. If you guys followed our videos back when the big SOPA and PIPA thing was going on, we talked about that before. And I think it's really important that we talk about these issues because it's something that affects us all, and it's kind of okay. I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. It is really stupid. Make obsidian. You don't have a bucket? Oh, Bear doesn't have a bucket. So yeah, so I just like keeping everybody up on that because this sort of stuff is obscure. I follow it, but maybe not everybody else does. So I like keeping you guys on the up and up. And then let's see, whatever. Oh yeah, we've talked about this before. You guys have heard of John. Get out of here. You guys have heard of John Carmack. He is the brains behind Doom and Quake and a lot of really well-known games. He apparently has started a trend, a very positive trend, one that I am very happy to see catching on, and that is to release the source code for his games that aren't selling anymore. So, he actually released the source code for the original Quake games, which is really awesome. That's really awesome. Those games were revolutionary for their time, and now it's available for people to download and learn from. So this is a very good thing. And he also followed it up with Quake 2 and Quake Arena and all these other games, as well as Doom 3. So he's been very, very generous to the community of programmers and things like that, up and coming programmers. Well, yeah, but that's for a different reason. That's to talk about on a copyright day. And actually, maybe I'll go into that, but I don't think so. I think that's a conversation for another time. But over the last couple days, there's been a couple developments with LucasArts titles, because Lucasfilm was purchased in whole by Disney. So Disney owns them now, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But a couple, Activision and Raven Software, have decided to release the source code for a couple of their older Star Wars licensed games, which is really cool because, that means that this source code releasing thing that John Carmack is doing has started a trend, and a good trend. So I'm actually really happy to hear them doing that, because it's really important, because software is incredibly deep and complex, and it's sort of hard to learn the more complex stuff when you don't have examples to go through. Well, it's not too hard, but it can get pretty complex, is basically what I'm saying. So having these examples of, fully released, actually pretty popular games is cool, because you get to see how the inner workings work. It's like having an engine torn down for you, so you can look at it and you get it for free. Pretty awesome. So I like that, and it's a trend. So I'm very happy. I'm very happy to see that. I'm finally happy to see some positive things going on in games, because it seems there's so much negativity going on recently. So I'm glad to report on something positive. And then going, you guy, get out of here. All you're fired. Every single one of you. Oh man, I missed my really good bow. Oh, man, I really wish I wouldn't have died. So doubling back a little bit, I probably should have talked about this first. But LucasArts was bought in whole by Disney. I said that already, but explosions. Clear out some inventory. Disney decided that they were actually going to shut down the studio. So LucasArts is no longer a thing, and I can't really say that I give a shit at all, because LucasArts has been known for very few good games. They were one of the few people that actually could make Star Wars games. Oh man, you bastard. They were the only ones that really could make Star Wars games, because obviously as Lucas, they owned the IP rights. Very rarely did any other developers get their hands on the rights to make a Star Wars game. But that is the model that Disney is now going with. They've shut down LucasArts, and they're going to be licensing the Star Wars franchise out to anyone who has the coffers big enough to pay them to make a Star Wars game. But I kind of laughed a lot when I was reading comment sections in some of these articles about LucasArts, because I'm gonna cut it straight with you guys right here. There are very, very few good Star Wars games, and the ones that can be considered good are all from third-party developers. LucasArts was probably one of the worst game developers in existence. Like, the only reason they were around for as long as they were was because of Lucas's deep pockets. So they were making tons of money because everybody would just buy the games because it was Star Wars, not because it was any good. So people were like, oh man, this is so sad. Disney ruins everything. And I'm like, oh my God, please. Nobody cares. I mean, when was the last time you saw a good game from LucasArts? I can tell you when. Never. Well, actually, no, not never. And, you know, I may be a little harsh on them, but actually, once I remembered that they actually made some good games back in the mid-90s, it was actually sort of like, oh yeah, I remember they actually could do some really good point-and-click adventures. There was Grim Fandango, Sam & Max, The Day of the Tentacle, and Full Throttle. Oh my gosh, some really amazing point-and-click adventures. I had Sam & Max and Full Throttle on my Mac back in 1994. So it was, I mean, they had really good graphics for the time. I mean, let me sort of give you a little bit of perspective what gaming was like in 1994. It was pretty much point-and-click adventures. Ooh, a mineshaft. On my computer, I had point-and-click adventures, and the only other game that I had was a tank game that was purely polygonal, as in everything was triangles, and I'm talking like triangles. They were just outlined triangles. That was it. And that was the sort of game, that was the average sort of game, you know, that you had from earlier in the decade. So, well, I know, but I mean, we're talking like triangles. Anyways, if I can find a screenshot, I'll try and give you guys an idea. But, it was, oh, well, I'll draw something. I mean, because I could even do that. Whatever. Anyways, it was pretty bad. Ooh, diamonds. Really, just one? Okay, well, one diamond. Let me get rid of some stuff here. I can consolidate there. So, you know, these games had like, you know, full animations. They had like, you know, models, and granted, a lot of it was like pre-rendered and stuff like that. But it was pretty good for the time, and they were fun to do. I remember having great times in Sam & Max. It's actually probably one of my favorite games when I was a kid. Even though I don't consider it one of my favorite games, I sort of forget about it. But I do remember having fun playing it. So that I guess counts for something. And I never played Grim Fandango, but a lot of people talk about it. Really, this is the smallest mineshaft ever. But yeah, no, it's just not a developer that anybody is really going to miss. So I just found that absolutely hilarious when people were like crying, like, no, LucasArts, and I'm like, really? They haven't produced anything worthwhile in a long time. Hi, diamonds. Got my friends. Let's see if you got any brothers sitting around here. Doesn't look like it. Alright, let's go get this gold. So yeah, so let's see what else I got on here. Lucas, that, talked about that. Oh yeah. This, I don't know how this is gonna work out, but I guess Google has forked WebKit. Now, for those of you who don't know, WebKit is the graphic or the website rendering engine that a lot of web browsers use these days. If you use Chrome, Firefox, well, wait, hold on. If you use anything with the exception, I'll explain that. If you use anything with the exception of Internet Explorer, you're using a WebKit-based browser. It's become ubiquitous among internet users. So all the websites are written for WebKit specifics. And Microsoft isn't too happy about that because they want you to use their specific stuff, which sucks. But in open source projects, which WebKit is open source, there is this thing called forking, and that's pretty much when you as an individual or a company pick up a project and say, I'm taking this and I'm going over here to play by myself. It usually happens when there is an argument going on in the development community about the direction of a project. So if like half the people think that, it should be this way, and the other people think the other half of the people think it should be another way, the project will usually be forked. So the half who thinks it'll be one way will take their toys and go home, and they'll release something else that'll sound like the other project was previously. And it's totally legal. You can totally do that. It's open source. So Google has decided to fork WebKit. The reason why is not clear. They are going to be moving everything that they make over to this new browser engine called Blink. It's probably going to start off very similar to WebKit, if not identical, and then it'll become more diverse over time. That's typically how forking works. So in the short term, probably not going to be that big of a deal. But moving on into the future, it may become a big deal. And, excuse me, I am not exactly sure how I feel about this. I really hope that Google will take the good way and they will fork this thing in a way that'll be good for everyone and not just good for themselves. Oh, hi, Bear. So we're just gonna have to see about it. Typically forking of projects is not necessarily seen as a good thing, because of the situation it naturally comes under, which is disagreement within the development community, which is never a good thing. So I'm going to be watching this. I am a Chrome user. I like Google Chrome. I use it, and I'm also a big user of Google products. I use Gmail. I use Android. I'm big into the Google stuff. So how this will affect me is something that I'm definitely going to be looking at. So it's something to keep an eye on. It could be good, but it could be bad. Google has been moving in a lot of directions recently, as far as, I don't want to say controlling the web, but having a larger hand in the way it runs. Like recently they've got, you guys heard me talk about the WebM standard. That's all Google. They've got this new WebKit forking thing. I mean, they've got their search engine. Google is internet. So anything that they do is definitely worth watching in the realm of internet type things. I mean, you can ignore Google Glass and it's not really going to bother you all that much. You could ignore their autonomous car, and their little side projects like that. But when it's internet stuff, you definitely got to pay attention. So I am, and I'm hoping that everything turns out all right. So we're just going to dig up this last bit of gold here. And I have an announcement. I don't remember if we posted this to the channel or not, but there is now a Monstabear official fan server. So those of you guys who enjoy watching us, because we're Monstabears, or you enjoy watching anybody who plays with us, like Lamdrew, Gus Gold, and Monstas, and everybody else, Mr. Meninja, Blinn, all the guys, and plus all the guys who we just did Ultra Hardcore with, they're all really awesome. So Gus Gold actually set up a fan server for everyone. So we've been Monsters has been approving people for it on the whitelist. It's a whitelisted vanilla server, and we've been working on it very, very hard. So I don't know if we're still accepting applications because there's only 30 slots available, but we will get you guys the information and you guys can submit one, and you might become eligible eventually because it's going to be reviewed every month, and inactive people are going to be dismissed, or and oops, sorry, Bear. If anybody misbehaves and there are bans, that'll open up slots for other people to play, and you can record on it, you can just hang out in derp, and whatever. We've already got a couple people on there. Sydney was actually the very first one approved, so congratulations, Sydney. You are super special. And we've got Parthen on there, and we've got Doc. She's on there as well. So a couple of faces who are familiar. We're also meeting new people. So if you guys want to get in on it, I'm pretty sure we tweeted it, but for those of you who don't follow us, we'll post it in the description, and you guys can find the goodies through there. But that's pretty much all I had to talk about today, and I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us for another episode. It's good to be back on KigerCraft, back on playing Minecraft and all that good stuff. And let's see, where's the bear? I don't know where the bear is. Okay, well, I'm not going to be able to find the bear. So he's far away. So that's going to be it for this time. So thank you everybody for joining us again, and we'll see you next time. Take care.